Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on Gran Turismo Sport. We're giving you a quick look at this week's daily racing. Now, we did this yesterday in a practice lobby with some very fast drivers, a lot of top split drivers in this practice race. As you can see there, qualifying in P4 in the Porsche. The Audi R18 is the time trial car for this track. You will have seen the time trial leaderboard already for this week's daily racing, and it looks pretty dominant. No car is really going to be able to challenge that Audi R18, I think. So yeah, if you want your times to be as fast as possible in time trial, use the Audi R18. However, for the race, it's a different story. Now, it all comes down to personal preference with how you manage the hybrid. I don't particularly enjoy managing that hybrid, so for me the Porsche is a better option for the race, and the Porsche is actually a very good race car at Suzuka in Group 1. So let's have a little look. We're starting from P4. Let's see how this race goes. Now, in this race I'm starting from P4 on the mediums, and Tomic's in front of us on the soft tyres, and Mehdi in front of us there in the Peugeot on the medium tyres, and P1 on the medium tyres in the Audi R18. So this week is going to be really exciting. I am really looking forward to this because this is a fun combination. You really do need to have, you know, a lot of bravery to attack these corners, especially at a track like Suzuka, which will punish you in a car as fast as this. But it's so entertaining. We're on the soft tyres, so a lot of grip on them soft tyres, and you do have to use both compounds of tyres in the race, so it is going to be a one-stop race. Now, I'm going to give you the tips for when about you can pit and certain other things in this race as we go through this video. But yeah, it's looking like a fun week. I'm really looking forward to putting some time into this. We've already done a time trial time. Now, my time isn't perfect. We've done a 1 minute, I think 38.7. We're about P6 in the top 10 stars. It wasn't a perfect lap, but I really don't have the motivation to sit there doing too much time trial, so that'll probably do me for today. Might go back to it another day. But you can see here in front of us, we've got the situation between the Peugeot and the Porsche. Now, what you can see here is that Peugeot is incredibly fast on the straights. However, out of the slow corners, it doesn't have hybrid, so the Porsche does get a little bit closer to it. However, what you will see is on the final chicane, because the hybrid will only kick in when your steering wheels are putting quite a small amount of input in, is that the Peugeot doesn't actually lose too much in certain corners. As we run wide there, that is one corner, the 130R. I really recommend that you really try and stick it close when you're following close to another car and you're picking up that dirty air from the car in front. Just try and make sure that you've got to keep that car to the left. If you try and just take it like you would normally if you didn't have a car in front of you, you run off like I did then, and then you're going to pick up dirty tyres, and then all that happens is you lose a lot of lap time. But yeah, Peugeot seems like a viable choice. Now, I do think you're going to have to be an incredibly good driver to get the most out of that car. Someone like Mehdi in front of us, one of the world's best drivers, well, one of the EU's best drivers, for example, extremely fast. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be the choice for everyone because it's going to have its weaknesses. I don't particularly know what it's like on tyre wear. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see during this race how things pan out and how it goes as we go through these two right-hand corners. The Porsche is very good through these type of corners, it seems. From my time trial experience, I'd say the Porsche is an easier car to drive. The Audi does have a bit of understeer, but it's probably because you're carrying that much more speed into the corners because it is a little bit faster. So it's hard to work out. I think in race conditions, if you can manage that hybrid on the Audi, that is probably going to be the fastest car. And if you can look after your hybrid and regenerate it, then yeah, you probably will want to go that. However, for me, I feel like I'm going to have more fun being able to just drive this Porsche aggressively and give it maximum attack. Now, we're running the brake bias free to the rear. That's going to help protect the front tyres. It's also going to give us a bit more hybrid coming out of some of the corners and keep that hybrid maintained. You can see the Porsche has no issue with the hybrid. It's not running low at all as we're chasing down Mehdi. Now, you can see that the Porsche does look faster than the Peugeot. You can see we are gaining on him, even on the medium tyres here. And you're going to see this is the type of place where you might be able to get a move done at some point during the race on a non-hybrid car, because this is where your car is going to be faster than theirs easily. You can see the acceleration out of that corner. We gain a few temps. However, once we get through to 6th gear, that Peugeot is just going to pull away and start gaining. Now, you can see Antomix up front is having the problems with the dirty air. And this is one thing you're going to have to be careful in the race when you decide your strategy. I think you really probably, if you're below P1, it's risky starting on them medium tyres, because you can see Antomix there started on the soft tyres and P1's on the mediums, and he just cannot get past P1. Now, this is a problem because it's very hard to overtake when you've got that dirty air, no matter if you've got fresher softer tyres, it's still very difficult as we come through to the final chicane. And again, this is quite surprising. This is an area where I thought we'd be faster, but the Peugeot actually on that corner is quite a good car, because the input that you're putting in on the steering angle is too much for the hybrid to kick in. So you find the Peugeot is very hard to get near on this straight and through that corner. But yeah, Mehdi going in the pits off the medium tyres nice and early. This is going to give us an idea of what sort of, you know, undercut, overcut with the soft tyres versus medium tyres. Now I don't know how he's going to drive this lap because I can't view him from this point of view, but yeah, it's going to give us a bit of a base idea. We're driving quite nice on this lap so far, although I did make a little bit of a mistake further on. I ran a little bit too deep into the hairpin, which again, try and get your braking points done for that hairpin nice and early. As we go in the pits there, we fast forward to the pit stop. We're in the pits lap 4. Now this, for me, I feel this is the optimal point of pitting. Lap 4, I think, off the medium tyres, then onto the soft tyres for 6 laps. It's not the longest race, it's only 10 laps. It's about a 17-minute race, and for me, 6 laps on softs, 4 on medium is optimal. However, it's hard to pick an optimal when you've got traffic, so you do need to bear that in mind. Look at the traffic, see when other cars pit. Always pay attention to the cars on the left and when they're pitting behind you, because if you see someone going in the pits on lap 2, you might need to go in on that next lap just to make sure he doesn't get the undercut on you. Because one thing you don't want at this track is being stuck behind someone with weak tyres. It will really slow you down because it's very difficult to overtake. As we follow the action now, and you can see that Antonio has made a mistake. I think he actually made an error on the in lap, and we actually overtook him before the pit stop. So we're ahead of Antonio now. We've got Mehdi in front of us, and Antomix is obviously on the soft tyres out in the lead now, but we are obviously on fresh soft tyres, and you can see we're getting very close to Mehdi there, getting really close to the rear of that Peugeot. However, again, we just cannot get into an overtaking position because the Peugeot, once it hits that 5th, 6th gear range, it just starts pulling away from the Porsche as we go through the long swim corner, working our way down the straight now. And again, initial bit of hybrid off that corner there, the Porsche does gain on the Peugeot. And one thing I did notice was that the Audi was having to you could see it maintaining with Antonio behind, who was having to maintain his hybrid. As we run a little bit wide again, it's that corner you really do have to pay attention at making sure you do not run wide there when you're following another car. It's so easy to do because it's an easy flat corner, but when you're following another car, you do get that understeer. So just remember, keep attention on that corner just to avoid running wide and getting the dirty tyres. But yeah, you'll see it on certain corners where Antonio is clearly having to maintain hybrid with the braking and stuff, and he can't drive it as aggressive as you can with the Porsche. That will make overtaking a little bit more difficult in the Audi R18 as well. So if you do make a mistake and you drop back a bit, it's going to make overtaking that tiny bit harder than in the Porsche. This is going to be a brilliant week. I'm really excited for this week. You know me, I love Group 1, Suzuka, one of my favourite tracks, and in high downforce, it's such an enjoyable location to be pushing these cars at this track. So a fun week. And also we have a daily race beat at Monza, no chicane, for a bit of a meme race. It's going to be quite fun there as well. We'll probably do some of that live on stream. Now, I'm possibly going to start some races from the back of the grid to start the stream later on, because I think it's going to be quite fun. And then we might go from the front at some point as well and have a bit of a mixture. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to streaming these races this week. We're going to do quite a lot on this one because I absolutely love Group 1 and I love the Porsche. So driving it at Suzuka is going to be really entertaining. Now you can see Antomix, with being held up, he would have been a little bit further ahead, obviously, if he didn't get held up by Antonio. But now Mehdi is obviously starting to catch him up. Now we did have a scruffy first few laps in the race also. We went wide off the 130R quite a few times. We lost 2 or 3 seconds. So yeah, and we're also getting a little bit held up by Mehdi every now and then. You can see we keep running wide and getting dirty tyres, but we keep catching him back up in these soft tyres, and his tyres are starting to fade a bit there now. You can see obviously Antonio behind me is starting to catch us up, but however, you can really see that when you're behind someone, you saw it in the mirror then, Antonio in the R18, the rear starts, when he's trying to put the power down, the rear just doesn't want to grip, so it does make overtaking extremely difficult. And also, not having that full hybrid regeneration in the Audi as easily as you get it in the Porsche will obviously make a difference in how you have to drive this one. Now, fast forward the action as we're doing quite an alright lap here, trying to gain up to P2 and seeing if we can get a little bit closer into the braking zone, trying to hold it nice and tight to the apex and on the throttle nice and early, and pushing our way up now. You can see again, look at the hybrid. This is the advantage of the hybrid cars. You see that initial gain. Now what we need to try and do to get past a non-hybrid car is get extremely close into the apex of that hairpin and then just use that hybrid to get past him. You can see we've definitely got more pace at this stage of the race. Obviously Mehdi pitted that lap earlier and that will affect you. It's times 7 on soft tyres, so it is quite a high tyre rate for this race. But yeah, pushing up behind him now, you can see that all the different strategies and different cars that are being used starting to take effect. You can see that Mehdi is catching up to Antomics, and he's got a fast, Mehdi obviously has the fastest car in the straights out of all these cars here. But in this section here, we're definitely better on the brakes. But again, this is where you can see that that Peugeot doesn't lose like I expected it to there. And the reason for that is because hybrid isn't kicking in on the Porsche there or the Audi there, because you're putting a bit of steering input in. Now for time trial, there is a little bit of a trick there with the Audi R18 to try and square the car off and then loosen that angle a bit, and you will gain about a tenth before you even start your lap, pretty much before turn 1. So try and do that. Try and keep the hybrid kicking in as you're accelerating on that strap for your on that lap for your time trial, because it will gain you some vital time in terms of improving your qualifying time. Now you can see straight away we're right behind Mehdi now, so we need to take advantage of this in the Porsche, and this is where you're going to have to be clinical with your moves, because in this situation you've got to go for any opportunity. So through here we're just going to try and drive it really smooth in the Porsche, just try and stay behind that Peugeot as much as possible. And again, here you're going to see that hybrid advantage. Look at this, as we got in the power we get massive gains. We go to the left, we actually brake quite early. I think he left the door open, and we're going to go side by side there. And now look at the advantage on acceleration once we're out ahead. So that is a position gained, and we don't really need to worry about the car behind, because hybrid versus non-hybrid will be fine into this corner. We do need to worry probably going on the back straight though, going down into 130R. But now we need to try and see if we can get as close as possible to Antomic. So getting on the power nice and early through that corner, using the full width of the track and working our way into 130R. You can see that Antomic's clearly still a little bit closer, and this is why I'm pretty confident that the 4-6 divide, I do think that the 3-7 divide will be pretty solid as well. The 2-8 divide on your strategy, we might be the one to do from the back of the grid. So if you want to get past people, get yourself some track position, 2 laps on the medium, 8 laps on the soft might actually work. I think it probably will be safer to do 3-7, but the 2-8 could be very strong if you can get yourself ahead of slower drivers and have less dirty air, but then you're going to be suffering at the end of the races. We see Mehdi there showing you the pace of that Peugeot in that braking zone, getting very close to my rear. Now I was confident he wouldn't just send it into that corner, because in these cars at that high speed it's a very dangerous move. Obviously in your slower cars you can go for it, but in these cars it's a little bit trickier. So through here we're catching up to Antomics, we're nearly into that slipstream. You can see the soft tyres clearly still performing better than the medium tyres, so it does, like I say, look like 6 laps is no problem for the soft tyres versus the medium tyres. We work our way through here. You can see just how close this race is, and just shows you that there will be alternative choices available. I do think that this race will end up being mainly the Audi R18 and the Porsche, possibly the Toyota, although I don't think the Toyota is particularly suited to this track as much as the Porsche. The Porsche has no hybrid issues, and it kind of suits this track a little bit more than the Toyota, but I do think the Toyota TS050 will be an option. Now there is the other Toyota which I haven't tried yet, and I will possibly give that a go on my second account at some point, just to see how that car performs, because I have a feeling that that car might be alright here. Who knows, it's possible. It's very good at Interlagos because of the corners where you're putting on the acceleration and getting hybrid out of. This track does have some similar corners, so it might actually work, although the hybrid regeneration isn't that great. As we're getting a lot closer to Antomics now, into the braking zone, you can see again soft tyres a lot stronger on the brakes than the mediums, you can see. However, once we're in that dirty area, we just cannot put that power down, especially with the worn tyres now. Even though we got 3 to the rear there to save our front tyres to give a bit of grip on the turning in points, we just don't have that traction. Now we're getting the slipstream down the straight, but just not enough to have a look. You can see I just do a little fake dummy on the inside, just to show them we're there. We're never going to send it from 2-3 temps back in these cars, because you basically don't brake into turn 1 in group 1. It's almost flat out into turn 1. You're just braking as you go through, trail braking all your way through the corner. But now, final lap of the race, just trying to stay with him. Now this is the point where I could feel the tyres were starting to fade. You can see that also Antonio behind us getting a bit of understeer on the Audi R18 as well. You can see it for myself. Once we're in that dirty air and we're following another car with that tyre wear kicking in, this does seem to be where the grip seems to be fading. So this is the worrying thing. Now if you pit lap 2 and from the back of the grid and you get that undercut, but you're still behind other cars, it could be quite troublesome with really heavy wear on the fronts and the rears. You're going to be struggling when following another car with that loss of aero, so you do need to factor this into strategy. It's going to be a real strategy race this week. I'm looking forward to it. It does, like I say, 4-6 divide, or maybe doing 6 laps on the soft, then 4 on the medium at the end. Seems like the strongest way to do it if you're in clean air. However, with traffic, it is just going to be down to keeping an eye on the track map of where cars are, keeping an eye on the left with the names when people are pitting. It's going to be vital that you do this week, to keep an eye on what lap people pit, because if you're on the mediums and someone pits behind you and goes on them soft tyres, they're going to be so much faster than you. So if you think they're going to jump you, it might be worth staying out a little bit longer and trying to get fresher tyres at the end, because they're already going to jump you anyway. As we go through to the braking zone, Antonio ran wide through the 130R again, like I did before, and just had dirty tyres, clipped the rear, but it was an accident. It's nothing too harsh. So yeah, we go over line P2, but an enjoyable race. This is going to be a fun week. Hopefully we've given you some pointers in this one with regards to strategy and how to drive this one and what car to use. It's all personal preference. I'm going with the Porsche because for me that Porsche is going to be the stronger car. Anyway, we'll be back live with some live streams of this and some Daily Race B and some Daily Race A throughout the week. So do subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments how you like this race. See you all soon, everyone.